Hello and welcome to lesson 2 of week 3. In this lesson, we're going to look at the list data type. My name is Mildred. Now in Python, when we want to assign multiple values to one variable, we have 4 different collection types that we call them, or iterable types that we can use. One of such is a list, and we declare a list by using a pair of square brackets like this. So let's say I want to have a list of IDs, for instance, and let's say we just want to have student IDs. So we have, let's say 101. Okay, then let's have a list of students. So we have the list of students. We want to have a list of, let's say, the status of the students, their enrollment status. So let's call this status. And this is not the only way we can create a list. So we can use a list constructor. We use list, but you must use a double parenthesis like this. So within the inner parenthesis, then you can now list all of your items. You can use any data type, but the data type must keep to the rules of the data type. So we want to, like, let's say the first one is active, and we have the other one is, let's say, inactive. So we have all of this here. So these are 2 ways we can create a list: with a pair of square brackets, and then you list the items as a comma separated list, keeping to the rules of the data type of that item, or you have a list constructor where you use the double parenthesis like this. So let's print all the list items and see. So you see the items I have in the list. And when we print this, we have everything with a pair of square brackets printed out. So we know that our lists are well created. So just like we saw in strings, we can also use slicing and get index position of items in the list. The last item is at index position -1. So every time you are programming and you don't know the length of the list in advance, you just want to get the last item, you use -1. If you know the length in advance, you can use the length method to get the length of the list and get the index of the last item. The last item is at index position -1. The first item is at index position 0. So let's say we want to slice a list, for instance. Let's use slicing. First of all, let's get the last item, right? So let's print the last ID. So put IDs and use -1. Okay, and so it's going to print the last ID here is 999, and so we'll have that printed. Let's say we want to print or get the students list from index position 2, so 0, 1, 2. And let's say we want to get Doe, Alice, and Bob. So from index position 2, 3, 4 to 4. The last is always not included, so we have to say 2 to 5. And so we want to print. So now it is students we are printing. So we'll print students and we'll put a pair of square brackets, and then we slice. We want to start from index position 2. We want to print 2, 3, 4. So we must end 1 higher because the list is not inclusive. And so we'll see it print Doe, Alice, Bob, like we wanted. So we can slice like that. All the rules for strings can be applied here the same way we did the slicing. Refer back to your lesson on strings to understand the slicing that you can do here. So let's say we want to use negative slicing for this, which is the same way. So this is -1, -2, -3. So we want to get Alice, Bob, and Charlie, right? So we'll say -3 to -1. So when we do -3 to -1, we're going to only get Alice and Bob because this is the last is not inclusive, right? So we print, let's say, students, and then we have -3. We want it to start from -3. We want it to end at -1, which means we are going to get -1, -2, -3. We'll get Alice and Bob. The last is not included, so we'll get only Alice and Bob printed. So let's look at how we can change or replace item in the list, whether we want to replace a single item in the list, we want to add a new item to it, or we want to change a range of index. One of the properties of a list, first of all, is that list can contain any data type within the items. Another property of the list is that it is ordered, which means they have a specific order. When you add an item to the list, it adds at the end of the list. And when you want to add a specified index, there are certain list methods you can use to add item to a different index. You can add more items in any position you want. You can remove items from the list using different list method. But the property of a list by default is that they are ordered, you can change the items, and then also they allow duplicate. So let's look at some of these methods that we use to do all of this. So we want to replace item from on a list, or maybe in a range. So let's say we want to replace John with Michael, for instance. Let's first of all print out what we have in students, and we'll print out students. So we have John, Jane Doe, Alice, Bob, Charlie. We want to replace students, so we want to say student 0. So index position 0 is the first item, is equal to, and let's say we want this to be Michael. Alright, so student 0 we want to replace with Michael, and when we print students now, we're going to get John replaced, and what we'll get now is Michael, Jane, Doe, Alice, Bob, Charlie. This is one way of replacing. When you know the index position in advance and you want to put Michael as the first, you put that there. If you want to put Michael as the last, all you can do is students minus 1 is equal to Michael. So this is one way we replace items in a list. You can also replace in a range. Let's say we want to replace from Joe to Charlie. So I'm going to remove this replacement here and want to replace from Joe to Charlie, for instance, from Doe to Charlie, Doe, Alice, Bob, right? We want to replace these ones. So we'll have 4 items and it starts from 0, 1, 2. So start from index position 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the end is always exclusive, which means we'll go one higher, which is 6. So from 2 to 6. So what do? We write students, and then we use slicing. 2 to 6 is equal to, and then we specify the list of what we want to replace with. And so when we run this now, we have John, Jane, and it's replaced from Doe to the end. So we get that list like that. We can insert more items than the number we have. What it does is increases the length of the list. So we say 2 to 6, which is just what we have there. But what if we say 2 to 6 and we add more than this item? So we've inserted more. We say 2 to 6, so it just fills to the end and increases the length of it, so it doesn't reject it. It just adds replace Doe, Alice, Bob, Charlie, and then added Jane, Matthew, John, which are 3 more than how it's the length of the list, so it adds it like that. Alright, so you can do that to add more. You can combine the items of 2 lists, like we have this students and status, and you want to combine the items of 2 lists. You can use a plus to do that. You can concatenate using a plus sign, just like the strings. But let's just go forward and then we'll start looking at that. So look at other list methods. Let's say you want to add more items or insert an item at the end of the list. Let's say you want to be able to add to an item of the list. Let's say you get a list item that you're collecting the names of all the students, and anytime a new student submits, you want it to increase that list, right? It always adds. There's a method called append that we use for list. So how do we write the append? We'll use, let's say, students dot append. Okay, and now when we print students, we have Paul added, right, to the end of the list. So we also have the extend method where we want to append items from another list into a list. So let's say this is not sliced like this, and let's just change this to new students. Now we want to combine the items of the students and new students together. We can use the extend method. So we can say all students is equal to, let's say, students, and then we're adding new students like this. We print all students, then we should have that printed. So I'll clear here and I'll run, and so we have none for all students. And I'll tell you why this is the case. We said student.extend, but when we try to print out all students that stores this, it doesn't print out anything, is none, because it won't happen like that. You can assign this to a variable. You have to just say students.extend, and then when you print students, the new ones are already added to that list. Okay, and so now it's no longer none, but it's the combination of both lists. So now that we have this, our list now has duplicates. If you check this out, let me remove this print statement. So we now have our list having duplicates. John exists in the first index, the last index. We have Jane second, and we have Jane here also. So this, we can use this to illustrate other string methods, right? Another way we can add 2 lists is to just use a plus sign. You can say students plus new students. So what I did initially, you can do that to say you don't want to use extends, right? So let's say we want to have new students, for instance. So you will say new students is equal to students plus new students, or you can say all students. So now you can print all students, and then you can get the list of all students. Alright, so you can use a plus sign to achieve that. So use the extend method or use the plus sign. So we can sort a method also. We have the sort method also that we can use to sort this out. Let's get a new list again, weight listed, and let's have weight listed has student's name in all uppercase. So we have another weight listed, and we want to add weight listed to all students. So we can do all students dot extend weight listed, right? And then print out all students. You have the weight listed. So now we have mixed cases, and we have this method called the sort method. It's a case sensitive sort which puts anything in uppercase later. So first of all, sort in alphabetical order, and then try to put the ones that are uppercase first before the ones that are lowercase. So let's sort. It's just a sort method. So let's say we want to have all students.sort. So all students.sort, written like this. And then when it's print it out in alphabetical order sorting. So sorry, I did this wrong. So we have all students.extend. So we can't print it out. Let's write it like this. All. So you see, it's a little sensitive. You try to do things, and so these mistakes happen, so that when you make those mistakes, you understand why you made the mistakes and how to correct them. So now we see it's sorted. Everything with uppercase in alphabetical order comes first before the lowercase of the same alphabet. So we have James come before Jane, because James is in uppercase here. But sort have other parameters that we can use. We have something like reverse. We want to sort in descending order, because by default is in ascending order. So we can put a parameter called reverse, and we'll set the reverse is equal to true like this. And then once you try sorting now, it's going to sort this in descending alphabetical order, so down to Allison. If you want it to have case insensitive sorts, you can add another parameter, or let's just remove the reverse and let's use key. Parameter is equal to string.lower. Okay, we want it to be lower like this, so we use this string.lower parameter, and then we'll have it to sort this regardless of the case. Put Daniel before Darian without having to convert this to, or without having to put the uppercase letter first before the lowercase. You can remove the last item of the list by saying all students.pop. It will remove the last item on the list. When you print out all students, the last item is going to be taken out. So if you want to specify what you want to remove, you can specify the index. For instance, you say all students.remove, and you want to remove a particular student. Let's say you want to remove Allison, for instance. So say Allison. Alright, so when it prints all students, Allison is no longer there. Run this. We do not have Allison anymore because we've removed Allison. So you can also get the index position by using an index method. You can insert something in a particular position. Let's say I want to insert a name, for instance. I can use the insert method, and I want to insert at index position 1, for instance, where Jane is at index position 1. I want to insert my name, and when I print out index position 1 holds my name. We have the count that will count how many times a particular item appears. If I want to know how many times Jane appears, I can use the count method and specify how many times Jane appears. So when I say count, it will tell me how many times. This will print out how many times Jane appeared. I didn't print out that. I can put this into a x equal to. So when I run this, I have 2 because Jane appears twice when we count the occurrence of Jane. You can clear all the items in the list by using the clear method also. So you can say all students.clear, and once you clear it, there'll be nothing else in the list. So when I print all students to be an empty list because I cleared out. So research, go deeper. These are most of the list methods that we have. We're going to look at how we can iterate through the value of a list. I think you will also get how to reverse a string. There's a reverse method also that you can use to reverse the order. So you want to read deeply about lists, and we're going to look at another iterable type in the next lesson.